Superintendent, said Kay. You always call my case one of the smallest, and yet it has given hosts of officials a great deal of trouble. And if, perhaps it was unimportant at the start, yet through the diligence of officials of Sordini's type, it has grown into a great affair. Very much against my will, unfortunately, for my ambition doesn't run to seeing columns of documents all about me, rising and crashing together, but to working quietly at my drawing board as a humble land surveyor. No, said the superintendent, it's not at all a great affair. In that respect, you've no ground for complaint. It's one of the least important among the least important. The importance of a case is not determined by the amount of work it involves. You're far from understanding the authorities if you believe that. But even if it's a question of the amount of work, your case would remain one of the slightest, ordinary cases. Those without any so-called errors, provide far more work and far more profitable work as well. Besides, you know nothing yet of the actual work which was caused by your case. I'll tell you about that now. Well, presently, Sordini left me out of count, but the clerks arrived, and every day a formal enquiry involving the most prominent members of the community was held in the Herrenhof. The majority stuck by me, only a few held back. The question of a land surveyor appeals to peasants. They scented secret plots and injustices and whatnot, found a leader no less, and Sordini was forced by their assertions to the conviction that if I had brought the question forward in the town council, every voice wouldn't have been against the summoning of a land surveyor. So, a commonplace, namely that a land surveyor wasn't needed, was turned after all into a doubtful matter at least. A man called Brunswick distinguished himself especially. You don't know him, of course. Probably he's not a bad man, only stupid and fanciful. He's a son-in-law of Leisman's. Of the master tanner? Asked Kay. And he described the full bearded man whom he had seen at Leisman's. Yes, that's the man, said the superintendent. I know his wife, too, said Kay, a little at random. That's possible, replied the superintendent briefly. She's beautiful, said Kay, but rather pale and sickly. She comes, of course, from the castle? It was a half question. The superintendent looked at the clock, poured some medicine into a spoon, and gulped it hastily. You only know the official side of the castle, asked Kay bluntly. That's so, replied the superintendent with an ironical and yet grateful smile. And it's the most important. As for Brunswick, if we could exclude him from the council, we would almost all be glad, and Leisman not least. But at that time, Brunswick gained some influence. He's not an orator, of course, but a shouter. But even that can do it. And so it came about that I was forced to lay the matter before the town council. However, it was Brunswick's only immediate triumph, for of course the town council refused by a large majority to hear anything about a land surveyor. That too was a long time ago. But the whole time since, the matter has never been allowed to rest, partly owing to Sordini's conscientiousness, who by the most painful sifting of data sought to fathom the motives of the majority no less than the opposition, partly owing to Brunswick's stupidity and ambition, who had several personal acquaintances among the authorities whom he set working with fresh inventions of his fancy. Sordini, at any rate, didn't let him be deceived by Brunswick. How could Brunswick deceive Sordini? But simply to prevent himself from being deceived, a new sifting of data was necessary. And long before it was ended, Brunswick had already thought out something new. He's very, very versatile. No doubt of it. That goes with his stupidity. And now I come to a peculiar characteristic of our administrative apparatus. Along with its precision, it's extremely sensitive as well. When an affair has been weighed for a very long time, it may happen, even before the matter has been fully considered, that suddenly in a flash the decision comes in some unforeseen place that moreover can't be found any longer later on, a decision that settles the matter, if in most cases justly, yet all the same arbitrarily. It's as if the administrative apparatus were unable any longer to bear the tension, the year-long irritation caused by the same affair, probably trivial in itself, and had hit upon the decision by itself, without the assistance of the officials. Of course, a miracle didn't happen, and certainly it was some clerk who hit upon the solution or the unwritten decision. But in any case, it couldn't be discovered by us at least, by us here, or even by the head bureau, which clerk had decided this case, and on what grounds. The control officials only discovered that much later, but we will never learn it. Besides, by this time, it would scarcely interest anybody. Now, as I said, it's just these decisions that are generally excellent. The only annoying thing about them, it's usually the case with such things, is that one learns too late about them, and so in the meantime keeps on still passionately canvassing things that were decided long ago. I don't know whether in your case a decision of this kind happened. Some people say yes, others no. But if it had happened, then the summons would have been sent to you, and you would have made the long journey to this place. Much time would have passed, and in the meanwhile, Sordini would have been working away here all the time on the same case until he was exhausted. Brunswick would have been intriguing, and I would have been plagued by both of them. I only indicate this possibility but I know the following for a fact. A control official discovered meanwhile that a query had gone out from Department A to the town council many years before regarding a land surveyor, without having received a reply up till then. A new inquiry was sent to me, and now the whole business was really cleared up. Department A was satisfied with my answer that a land surveyor was not needed, and Sordini was forced to recognize that he had not been equal to this case, and, innocently it is true, had got through so much nerve-wracking work for nothing. If new work hadn't come rushing in as ever from every side, and if your case hadn't been a very unimportant case, one might almost say the least important among the unimportant, we might all have breathed freely again. I fancy even Sordini himself. Brunswick was the only one that grumbled, but that was only ridiculous. And now imagine to yourself, land surveyor, my dismay, when after the fortunate end of the whole business, and since then, too, a great deal of time has passed by, suddenly you appear, and it begins to look as if the whole thing must begin all over again. You'll understand, of course, that I'm firmly resolved, so as far as I'm concerned, not to let that happen in any case.